everybody. Wanted to wait for the president, of course, and the cabinet meeting. Not that there's anything to say. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. I think it's still a lovely day out, but someone should tell April to not think that she's February. Somebody's got to check in with her and see what's going on. Thank you all very much for being here. I appreciate it. And let's start with a couple of announcements here, as usual. Of course, I'm Tammy Bruce, your spokesperson for the State Department. To begin, we are pleased to share that American Ksenia Karelina is on her way back to the United States. Ksenia was detained in Russia for more than a year and will soon be reunited with her loved ones. We have not forgotten about all of those who Russia continues to unjustly detain, including American Stephen Hubbard. President Trump's team, at his request, engaged with Russia on Ksenia's case. Secretary Rubio, Special Envoy Witkoff, CIA Director Ratcliffe, National Security Advisor Waltz, and Special Envoy Bowler mobilized their teams to bring her home. We thank the government of the UAE for their support enabling the exchange. President Trump and Secretary Rubio will continue to work for the release of all unjustly detained Americans. And now to trade. President Trump continues to put American workers first by bringing trading partners around the world to the table with a fresh perspective to achieve reciprocity and fairness. Yesterday, the president showed the promise of his support. More than 75 countries recognize the benefit in working with the United States. Many negotiations are now underway. President Trump has also been very clear on China. China's decision to retaliate is emblematic of its decades of aggressive and unfair trade policies, and President Trump has taken appropriate action in response, announcing that the United States tariff on all goods from China has again increased. China's unfair trade practices are hurting not only the United States and our workers, but also market economies around the world. China has actively undermined the world trading order for decades. It is high time to correct that imbalance. President Trump is the first world leader brave enough to do so. Lastly, I want to share a message from Secretary Rubio to the people of the Dominican Republic. As the Secretary said, we are, quote, united in prayer as the people of the Dominican Republic grieve the recent tragedy that took place in Jet Set nightclub in Santo Domingo, which also resulted in the unfortunate death of at least one U.S. citizen and U.S. legal permanent residents. While rescue efforts remain ongoing, our hearts go out to the families and loved ones affected by this devastating event. The U.S. stands ready to support our Dominican allies amid this obviously horrible and difficult time. And now, turning it over to questions. Where will I begin? Matt Lee with the AP. Hello.
Thank you, ma'am. Two things. I just want to check to make sure that you don't have anything to add either on the release of the American or on the Russia-U.S. talks in Istanbul from the statement. Do you have anything to add on either of those?
I have a few things I can add because
please.
I'm talking and I
Please
can't
do.
shut up. That's my situation here. So obviously we know this situation is that one thing I want to reinforce that I mentioned in my announcement is calling on Russia to release Stephen Hubbard, who has been detained for nearly 3 years. We continue to work to free Mr. Hubbard and all other Americans unjustly detained, and we have not forgotten about all those Russia continues to detain in this manner, to say the least. To secure Ksenia's release, Russian national Arthur Petrov, your alarm's going? Arthur Petrov was returned to Russia. And that is all I'll share in that regard. But obviously she is on her way home, and that is what the story is in that regard. And that's a promise President Trump made when he first came into office, was to make sure that all Americans being held around the world would, in fact, be home. And your other issue?
Well, on the Ukraine, sorry, not Ukraine, the Istanbul meeting between the U.S. and Russia, presumably this swap did not come up there, but do you have anything to add to what was in the statement that came out earlier?
I do, and let me get that for us. I think we have that right here. And I'm not quite sure why I don't. I might have to run right,
Okay, well,
come
then
back around to you.
I'll just go to my last one.
What I can, for those of you not knowing what he's asking about, is a technical meeting in Istanbul regarding the bilateral relations and the embassies for both of us, and that's again, that has happened before. Again, it has nothing to do with Ukraine, nothing to do with expanding our relationship in any fashion in that regard, but really just about the nature of our embassies and the ability to manage them and conduct business as one would normally expect to be able to do so in a diplomatic mission.
Okay, so then to my question that maybe you can answer a little bit on is the departure of Ambassador Brink from Kyiv. Do you have anything to say about that?
I do. Says Tammy Bruce. Wow, all right. Because we had just discussed this.
Right, well, we also had discussed something a little bit earlier.
Yes, what?
The blanket statement that we, the State Department, do not discuss personnel matters.
Well, that is something we've discussed at great length. And in this particular case, Ambassador Brink's been ambassador at the embassy in Ukraine for 3 years, during a time of war for those 3 years, an extraordinary performance there, and we wish her well. At the same time, of course, it's a reminder when it comes to the issues that we think about that surround this conversation, is that we know that we're working for that war to end. And that is our focus, and we expect, of course, our work that will continue in that regard. But that's the nature of what we're focusing on here, and we wish her well, and that's really all we would say in that regard. Yes, Andrea.
Can I follow up a bit? There are several Americans in Russia that were at least identified by Mickey Bergman and other groups who are active in this regard with trying to get Americans out, who are not designated yet as wrongfully detained. And I'm wondering if you could check or take the question as to whether there's any progress on elevating them to the level of wrongfully detained, which could accelerate them getting released. I think that was done by the administration with Mark Fogel.
Right, I do know, yes. Again, the question about Americans who don't have a designation of being wrongfully detained is that if an American is being held, we are regularly looking at those cases. Okay. We're constantly addressing the nature of how they're held, why they're held, and if that designation might change. So it's not something we look away from. It's a regular effort. And so in the regard of anyone who's not been designated in that fashion, it is something, as you've noted, like with Mr. Fogel, that can change if circumstances merit it.
And can you give us any details? There's some confusion. According to her lawyer, she was supposedly, Ksenia was arriving at 4 p.m. There are other reports that it is as late as 9 p.m. Can you give us any clarification about and when if she'll be going to the White House, or do you know anything more? And I have one more question to ask. Will she be going to Brooke Army Medical?
Well, clearly there's still issues of privacy here. I'm not really going to talk about the choices she's made, where specifically she is going, or what the plans are for her involved in that, which are decisions that are going to be made in that environment and with her, which would not be appropriate to discuss. And certainly I can't discuss the nature of the negotiations that occurred, which clearly did, but maybe that's for another day, but here I can't do that.
Okay. And speaking of negotiations, can you give us an update on what is expected on Saturday with the Iran talks? Because Foreign Minister Arachi's column in the Washington Post yesterday made it very clear that there would be no talks if the U.S. was insisting that they are direct. And of course, the position, as repeated today in the cabinet meeting was that they will be direct talks. So do you still expect these talks to take place on Saturday? And will they begin indirect talks and then move to direct, or is there some resolution of that?
Well, I'm not on the team that makes that decision or has those conversations, right? And we're not going to litigate that here. As I said on Tuesday, and repeatedly say really about everything, if the president says something, that's my North Star. And they're the ones in the midst of the discussions regarding the arrangement of this meeting, and we'll leave it to them. So I'm not going to speculate on that or what will happen. There are clearly some very good and very important diplomats involved in this, including, of course, Special Envoy Witkoff. And we'll leave it there. We'll find out. At this point, yes, that is still underway. It's happening, and we look forward to it as a good first step to find out if the Iranians are serious. All right. Yes, in the back there. Yeah.
Thank you. A couple of questions. Just to be super clear, did you
Well,
just
a little bit, Nadia, please.
yeah, just to be super clear, did you just confirm the resignation of Ambassador Brink?
I'm sorry?
Ambassador Brink's resignation. Did you just confirm that? Because you wish her well.
Well, she's returning home, yes.
So that's official. Thanks so much. For those of us who have been following, this from the very beginning, we couldn't help but notice that Ambassador Brink has been limited with naming Russia, recently, particularly during the past couple of weeks, when it comes to talking about Russian attacks on Ukraine. Was there any instruction, any pressure on her for not naming Russia from this building?
Well, I'm not aware of anything like that. Certainly, I wouldn't speak to anything regarding that, regarding personnel, regarding a diplomat, and the internal dynamics that might occur. So, no, that's not something I'm going to speculate about or guess at or speak to.
Again, my follow-up on Ukraine as well. Tomorrow marks 30 days, 1 month since Ukraine, did basically sign in your ceasefire deal, and Russia refused, has been delaying since then. And as we speak, they keep attacking Kyiv right now. May I get your perspective on that, please?
Well, the perspective, I think everyone understands the perspective, is that President Trump is involved in this. We've got the best diplomats in the world, with certainly being led by Secretary Rubio. All of our leadership, particularly President Trump and Secretary Rubio in public, have made it clear what's at stake when it comes to the nature of this situation ending. It is a dynamic that will not be solved militarily. It is a meat grinder. There is nothing else can be discussed for the outcome until the shooting and the killing stops. Secretary Rubio made clear at NATO in his press conference that we would, in fact, know in a matter of weeks if Russia was serious. And so we'll take him at his word, certainly, as we do. And I think Russia certainly needs to take that seriously, and we'll play that out. But this is not going to go on for 6 months or a year or anything else. And the president has also made it clear we want diplomacy. But the fact is that we're watching and judging as this process continues. Yes, sir.
Thanks, Tanya. I wanted to have a comment. The French president yesterday said that France would recognize a Palestinian state within months, and he suggested that he could do it alongside Saudi Arabia at a UN conference in New York in June. The U.S. has long opposed any unilateral recognition. Is that still your position? Do you have a comment on his?
Well, I can tell you that we are aware of course, the reports that you refer to regarding the French government's remarks, and we refer you to them for further comment. What I can also, though, say is that the United States stands firmly with the state of Israel in its pursuit to bring all the hostages back home and the defeat of Hamas. The groundbreaking Abraham Accords and the devastating October 7th attacks have forever changed the Middle East. As a Special Envoy Witkoff has said, we need to explore new policy prescriptions that ultimately end up in a better life for the Gazans and the Palestinians. Look at the discourse that's now happening today, he said. We're actually engaging in a productive conversation around what is best for Gaza and how we can make people's lives better. This administration will continue to engage our partners in the region on a serious solution for Gaza that secures peace and the release of all the hostages, among them 5 Americans, including Idan Alexander.
Terry, can I just follow up on that?
Sure.
Very quickly. It's not just about Gaza. There's West Bank also. So, I mean,
Well, I think it's fair to say that this is a region that has been in turmoil because of the support of death squads by Iran. And so you have this dynamic that has been continuing and predictable and not stopping, and ceasefires being broken by the same groups. That's why when we say yes, new ideas for Gaza, and the new idea that could break the Gazan people free from being hostages themselves of Hamas, is the same kind of solution that is also going to help the entire region. That is it. This is not an isolated framework that only fits into a corner. This is a solution that is for the region, and our regional partners, of course, understand that as well. Nadia.
Thank you, Tammy. Just to follow up on Leon's question, the president said that he's open to different ideas. So when the secretary goes with him to Saudi Arabia next month, will that meeting also be expanded to have a Middle Eastern conference whereby the Palestinian issue will be discussed?
Well, I don't know what the plan is when it comes to the content. That is something that we would have to speculate about or guess at, and we really shouldn't do that, obviously, with a multitude of issues facing the region. So it's the details I can't imagine about. It's not something I'm going to do, but I think that kind of a visit, of course, is at the hallmark of President Trump's vision when it comes to his own presidency, but also how to change the course of the Middle East and to make it better for everyone there. So I know that he's looking forward to having conversations that surround that aspect.
And Iran,
Yes,
Iran
sir.
just quickly, just follow up.
One more, go ahead.
Just on the technicality. So is this meeting on Saturday is going to be one-off, or it depends on what has been achieved on Saturday? And will be a direct talk, i.e. in the room, it will be two delegations, the Iranians and the Americans, and the Omanis in the middle, or the exchange of conversation will be across the table?
Well, what happens on Saturday would, I suppose, determine whether there's more. Right now, this is a meeting that is arranged. It is not part of some larger scheme or framework. It is a meeting to determine whether or not the Iranians are serious. And so that clearly would be the goal of that singular meeting and effort. As far as the arrangements or what the rooms are or who's in which rooms, I don't have that for you, and I'm not going to speculate. Yeah.
Tammy,
Yes,
can
sir.
I?
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much, Tammy. I really appreciate it. I just want to go back to your response to Leon, where you said we need to explore new policy prescriptions that ultimately end up in a better life for the Gazans and the Palestinians. Are they one and the same in your mind, or are you disassociating the Gazans from Palestinians?
So I'm talking about the people in the region, the people who live in the Gaza Strip. That's who we're talking about, the people who face a danger every single day because of the nature of what Hamas has done to that region and to that strip of land. I think that no matter who you are and how you identify, the fact is that no human being deserves to remain in that kind of an environment because Iran is funding death squads that take over the space and use you as a human shield. While we may become inured to that kind of hell, and the people in it generationally become affected and also believe that this is just normal life, that is a crime in and of itself. And there is the human spirit is so strong that we do know, especially for those who survived October 7th, those who got out of the hostage framework. One woman whom we honored here at the State Department, who is a survivor of that massacre. The strength in these individuals who move through this is astounding, how they survive psychologically and physically. That is what unifies us, all of us in this room, all of us engaged in this kind of a framework. It's that it's human beings, it's families, it's mothers and fathers, it's young people dancing at a music festival, it's people of faith, it's people of no faith, it's people who just simply are looking forward to that night or to getting married or to having children or thinking about college or thinking about moving somewhere or just living their life as their parents lived their lives. That's who I'm talking about. And that's what every peace effort that President Trump and Secretary Rubio work for every single day. If there is one thing our generations can look to here, is the fact that we, at the very least, seriously tried. And so when I refer to someone, whatever part of the world they're in, that's who I'm referring to. The Israelis, the Arabs, the Egyptians, the Palestinians, people of Gaza, Jordan, whomever. This is where we have to move past, is the nature of what keeps us together and what unifies us. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, please, Saeed, please. Go ahead.
On that, the UN Secretary General called Gaza a killing field. He noted that it's been more than a month since Israel has allowed aid into Gaza. Are you guys pushing Israel to allow humanitarian aid into Gaza, given it has been a month and conditions are incredibly dire, people are dying, and you just mentioned folks need to be able to live?
Sure, yes, they do. And when there was, of course, a ceasefire, aid was flowing into the region. People were getting food and other aid that they needed, including medical aid, because of the ceasefire that allowed that to move forward. We, of course, stand by our ally Israel. The ceasefire was abandoned by Hamas. You know, it's not just a feeling, it's a fact of the matter that there was a ceasefire and aid was flowing. Hamas abandoned that ceasefire, decided that it was, I don't know what they would decide, but it's the kind of thing that monsters do and continue to do. So obviously the work does continue every single day in that region and other regions to stop the fighting, to make sure that civilians are protected, that the next day that they might still be alive. So because you might not see something in the news, and I know this is your business, doesn't mean, or you don't see announcements, doesn't mean that that work isn't continuing to regain that ceasefire so that aid can continue, as we also stand by Israel and the nature of what's happening for them and how as they still deal with the fighting. This is not good for anyone in that region. But yes, our work continues to get back to that ceasefire, to make sure that people can get aid and to survive this, which is the sole focus of all of our efforts for that region.
Can I just quickly
yes, sir, please, go ahead, sir. Yes.
Thank you. With regard to extradition of Tahawwur Rana, who was convicted in the Mumbai terrorist attack and sought after in India, he has been transferred to India right now. He landed in India this morning, U.S. time. How does the secretary sees this as a message to the terrorists who are operations from U.S.?
Yes, that we do have an update for you on that. This might be, I want to be able to do this, and Tommy, could you come up here and give me a hand, because something changed up here. And this was something very specific, because we're, because I don't want to speak randomly here. There we go. Thank you, sir. Tommy Pigott, everyone. You're my principal deputy. You'll be seeing him soon, briefing you. When I'm unable to brief, Tommy is the one next in line. So there you go. Already proving himself. He is. He's a fan favorite with the team here in the building as well. Thank you, sir. All right. So good question, sir. On April 9th, the United States extradited Tahawwur Rana to India to face justice for his role in planning the horrific 2008 Mumbai terrorist attacks. Some people watching may not remember these, but I encourage you to look them up and to find out exactly how horrible this was and the importance of this situation today. These attacks resulted in the tragic loss of 166 lives, including 6 Americans, that shocked the entire world. The United States has long supported India's efforts to ensure those responsible for these attacks are brought to justice. And as President Trump has said, the United States and India will continue to work together to combat the global scourge of terrorism. So he is in their possession, and we are very proud of that dynamic.
Thank you.
Yes. All right, yes, sir, in the glasses here.
One more on Iran. The senior advisor to the Iranian leader, Ali Shamkhani, today said that if military threats continue against Iran, Iran will kick out IAEA inspectors and hide its enriched material. What's the U.S. reaction to that?
All right. First of all, these actions, the threat of that kind of action, of course, is inconsistent with Iran's claims of a peaceful nuclear program, right? Also, expelling IAEA inspectors from Iran would be an escalation and a miscalculation on Iran's part. The United States remains deeply concerned that Iran is amassing a growing stockpile of highly enriched uranium for which there is no credible peaceful purpose. Iran is the only non-nuclear weapon state producing highly enriched uranium at this level. Also, beyond the threat to expel the international nuclear inspectors, but also threatening to transfer its stock of uranium to secret locations. And again, why would one need to do that if it was for peaceful energy work? Doesn't make much sense. So again, it is an escalation and a miscalculation on Iran's part if they were to do so. All right. Yes, go ahead. And then you afterwards.
Sorry.
You next. Go ahead.
Yes.
Wait 1 second, Eric. Go ahead.
Thank you. So a quick question about a Wall Street Journal report. They're saying that Chinese officials acknowledged in a secret meeting last December that they were behind a widespread series of cyber attacks on American infrastructure, and they linked the attacks to escalation over Taiwan. Just wanted to ask you if Chinese officials have made any kind of similar statements to this administration, or if this administration was briefed on that apparent admission during the transition.
That is a good question, and we're going to have to take that away and get that back to you. When I do that, by the way, for people watching, we really actually do get back to the reporters with the answer to their questions. So that's a genuine framework we ask. All right, Eric, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Tammy. I'd like to ask about some reporting that we have today that Israeli officials are laying the groundwork for a full military occupation of Gaza, and whether this is something that's concerning to the State Department, whether it's seen as any kind of an overreach or anything that would further inflame the situation in the Middle East right now.
Well, it's clear that President Trump has explained his goals here when it comes to the nature of a diplomatic solution and to ending the fighting. But of course, on any other issue, I'm not going to discuss what another country might be contemplating or its separate diplomatic conversations or considerations it may have. So you want me to speculate or hypothesize? I'm not going to do that. All right. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Tammy. I just want to switch to Afghanistan. Are you aware of the case of a British couple, Peter and Barbie Reynolds, who are still detained by the Taliban? They were taken at the same time as the American Faye Hall, who is a friend of that couple, who, as you know, was released a couple of weeks ago. They are British, but they have American children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren who have given an appeal via video, which they've posted online, which we at CBS we've reported about, appealing to Trump for help in being able to release their parents. I was wondering if you are aware of whether there was any effort to coordinate between the US and the British governments to get all of them out at once, and if there has been any outreach to offer to help with the US helping to get their release from Taliban custody since.
Well, it's we're aware of the reports, of course. We're aware that they're held. They're British citizens. I would suggest, I don't know if you've checked with the British government. I think they would have the most specific actions if they're being taken for their citizens. But so that's all I have for you.
And can I just have one on to the Taliban as well, relatedly?
Sure.
There were reports a few days after that visit by former envoy for Afghanistan, Zalmay Khalilzad, and the special government employee Adam Bola, when they visited Kabul in March. A few days after that, and American George Glasman was released. A few days after that, the bounties on senior Taliban officials' heads were lifted. Did the US government lift bounties on Taliban officials in order to get Americans out? Is that something you're aware of, and do you have any comment?
I know that this, I think you'd asked this once before. What I can tell you is that those frameworks are always being looked at and dealt with. I can't speak to any kind of exchange in that regard. We do know
the
that...
Secretary did tweet about it as well. He did tweet about George Glesman and had mentioned that the Taliban, that they shouldn't be doing this. And so I was just wondering if the two were
Well,
connected.
they're still, these are individuals who are designated terrorists. The groups remain designated terrorist groups. None of that has changed. And that's what I can tell you. That's, I think, the story here is that none of that has changed. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Tammy. Appreciate it. Relative to the Iran talks, meeting, friendly chat, whatever.
It's a meeting. It's just a meeting. Yes. I don't know if it'll be friendly. It'll be a meeting, an important one.
I want to go back to an older story that's kind of petered out a little bit. A former special envoy for Iran, Rob Malley, was suspended and had his security clearance revoked as a result of some alleged violations of security processes. Republicans were screaming about getting documents from the State Department in an update, and then January rolled around and Republicans kind of went silent on the issue. I'm trying to find out if the State Department can provide any update or commit to providing any update on that scenario.
Well, I can get you an update once we take it back and look for that update.
Thank you.
I'll get that to you for sure. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Tammy. I have two questions on North Korea. First question, North Korean Kim Jong-un recently said that the U.S. and South Korea and Japan's efforts to denuclearize North Korea are nonsense. Does the U.S. believe that North Korea must completely denuclearize? Second question, President Trump has mentioned that North Korea is a nuclear state. Will the State Department formally recognize North Korea as a nuclear state? Thank you.
Well, I would say for questions about what President Trump might do, you must check with the White House. We do know, of course, that the administration has made it clear that North Korea has to be a denuclearized state. So that's the only thing that's acceptable in that regard. Yes, please.
Just a couple of questions coming back to the Russia prisoner swap. I'm wondering, this swap that happened today, how do you see that as connected to the talks? Is this a positive sign for Russia's willingness to make concessions when it comes to Ukraine?
I think that the president's been very clear that there's one thing on the table with Russia, which is the ceasefire. Yeah. That there's no other dynamic that's going to be addressed or facilitated until that is dealt with. The president did make a few comments at his cabinet meeting regarding the situation and how it was brought to his attention, and the fact that he pledged, again, this is not a lark on his behalf. This was a pledge that he's made throughout the campaign and has been a hallmark of his administration, and he's acted on that. In this particular case, it happens to be this young woman who comes back. I think that, as especially also with Stephen Hubbard still being detained there, it's clear that this is an ongoing framework. Regardless, we're not going to choose or not choose a country based on a circumstance. The president's going to act on Americans who need to be freed.
Right. And on the Russian who was released in the swap, Arthur Petrov, yeah. So he was detained and extradited from Cyprus, I believe, related to rules that the previous administration had imposed on Russia, which were about making sure that the Russians didn't get access to U.S. microelectronics for their military programs, right? So the fact that you've released this guy who was detained for breaching that, does
he was returned to Russia. He wasn't released into the wild. He was returned to Russia.
Does that signal some softening of the U.S.
Well, yeah,
restrictions
the
on
Biden
Russian
administration hadn't talked to Russia at all. I mean, President Trump is the first to engage with Russia for years. So when we think about the nature of either administration, but this is about leadership. It transcends partisanship. It's about how do you conduct your business to get things done? Do you just simply not talk to people and turn a blind eye and do nothing? Or do you engage when it comes to stopping the carnage, stopping wars, getting people released from being unjustly held, or just even getting Americans back home? You've got to engage with people to do this. And Secretary Rubio's made it very clear, is that when they've asked if he trusted Putin as an example, he talked about that it's, in this dynamic, you have to deal with what people do and what they don't do. That trust really isn't the issue. It's about expectations, what people are supposed to do, and whether they do them or not. And you can then talk. You must be able to talk with everyone if you want to get results. And I think that that's what we have in this administration. And we see it every day, including today and with her release. And we'll see it on Saturday. We'll see it constantly from both Secretary Rubio and President Trump as we work to make the world a better place. And that is it for today. Thank you, everyone. Next Tuesday, I will see you then. Someday you will be entertained by Tommy Pigott. Yes, he's very good. So I feel very safe that you'll be in his hands.